Hi there, thanks for joining me today. I really wanted to try making some scrunchies for a friend's birthday present. I have two friends actually who just had their birthdays last week. Love you so much, Madison and Sarah. I hope you have wonderful birthdays. And I thought that a fun stay-at-home project would be to make some scrunchies. So I am going to do it two ways. For the girls, I'm going to make sets of 3 scrunchies that I'm going to sew, and then I'm going to show another way to make a scrunchie by knitting it. So let's get started. So this is what you're going to need for our fabric sewn scrunchie making today. We have regular scissors, some thread snips, a pencil to trace out our design, bits of elastic, and other scrap fabrics. This ruler is also here just to make sure that I draw some straight lines and measure out everything correctly. So I'm gonna get to start cutting the fabric, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, everything's kind of strewn about now, but I essentially took the ruler and then measured 3 inches for this side, 13 inches long, and cut out rectangles of that shape. Everything is the same except for these ones. This print, it's actually only 12. I forgot the seam allowance, so we will see how that turns out. And then I have little bits of elastic. Each of these is 6 inches long. So what I'm going to do is press this and then sew each of these rectangles into sort of a tube like that and press them again. And then we'll be back.
So what we did here was turn the iron to a really high level because all the fabric was made out of cotton and needed to be at about a level 6 to get a good press into it, to take out all the wrinkles. Then once we were done, we got this tube, which I just put a straight stitch into and backstitched at both ends. Can't really see because I keep on putting my arm in front of it. I'm sorry, I'm gonna work on the angles. But it was literally just sewing a straight line. Super easy. And that seam went right along the top. So I took these tubes back to the ironing board and pressed them so that they would be nice and neat and have a crease at the top. I think it just looks a little bit fresher and tidier when you add that crease in. I then used a loop turner to turn these tubes inside out. I'm still getting the hang of my loop turner. I don't know why, it just seems a little bit difficult for me. Hopefully I'll figure it out soon, but it's much faster than not having one. Alright, so after we had those loops all pressed, I took the loop turner and attached it to one of the 6-inch pieces of elastic and fed the elastic through the tube, making sure to hold it at the end so it didn't end up caught on the inside. Afterwards, we just took those 2 elastic tails and tied them together really tightly, tucking them inside the 2 gaps. You want to really make sure that that's not going to fall apart, because then it's going to be, your scrunchie's not going to have any more stretch in it. After I had gotten those all done, I took some thread, gently folded over one side of the raw edge of the scrunchie, and stitched it down to the other raw edge. I should have filmed this a little closer so you could see a bit better, but it's basically just like a straight running stitch over the top. It's top stitched. And it was really simple and quite quick. to bury the tail, I just pulled it through. And these are our finished scrunchies. I think this whole part of the project took me maybe a half hour for each scrunchie. Alright, so now we're moving on to knitting. You could do this with 4 or 5 double-pointed needles. I'm using a size 5.5, which is I think a American 10 needle, and I'm casting on 12 stitches, so 4 stitches on each of my 3 needles. Knitting this took, I would say, about 3 days of just picking it up in my free time, but I am a extremely slow knitter. Like, I love to knit, but it takes me ages, and that's why we're seeing so many different outfits here. You're going to want to knit until you get a tube that is about 12 inches long, give or take. After you've cast off the end, it's real easy to just feed the elastic through these. I wouldn't recommend using a loop turner. It's just much easier to do it with your hands because they're big and stretchy. And then you do exactly the same thing, where you're tying the ends of that elastic together to form a very tight knot and securing it. I then took a great big darning needle and just stitched the ends of this together real quick and fed the other tail into the inside of the scrunchie and cut it off from there so that it was buried inside.
I've already wrapped up the scrunchies for my girlfriend, so I'm not going to show them. Plus, I think we got some pretty good shots during the creating process, but this is the scrunchie that I knitted, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out. It gets a good 2 turns, and then you're pretty much done from there, and it holds a ponytail pretty tight. I can show you right here. Boom, boom. So this is it. And I think it's really cute. I wore it once when I went hiking last weekend, and it stayed sort of in place all day. Sometimes if I have like a knit scrunchie, I'll put a tighter hair tie under it, just because they can be kind of looser depending on how wide you cut your elastic. But this one has such a small elastic in it that it fit really well, so I'm really, really happy with it. I hope you all try making your own scrunchies. I hope you had a really fun time watching this video. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks so much.